In this lesson, we'll see how we can utilize the transmat material. So this transmat material is able to basically make an object become completely transparent to any sort of ray tracing rays. So in order to see how we can use this, let's take a look inside the actual hypershade. And let's grab a material. In our case, we'll grab this blue blend, which is responsible for this sphere up here. And we'll go ahead and connect this in. Now what we want to do is make this sphere essentially invisible to the renderer. So in order to do this, we can use something like the transmat shader. So all we have to do is take this, middle click, and drop it into the material shading port. Now you'll notice that if we take a look inside the transmat that there are no attributes to be found. So really this is a shader that is all or nothing. It makes the shader, or rather the object that it's assigned to, entirely transparent. And really that's what this name implies. Transmat is just a shorthand term for transparent material. So now, if we take a look at what we have, let's just render this out. And you'll see that once the render is complete that we do actually not have any sort of interaction with the object itself, but we are now left with just this black empty sphere where this object used to be. If you take a look at the actual alpha channel, you can see that we really wind up with a cutout of where that object was. So really that's just a problem with our quality settings. So if we go over to the quality tab and start to increase the number of ray tracing rays, because right now even though we do have this shader assigned to the surface, the ray tracing ray will still strike that surface and count that as one ray interaction, and it'll then transmit that information back to the camera. So what we want to do is make sure that the ray is able to actually strike the surface and then continue on through in order to get information what's behind here and display it to us. So we'll make sure that the number of refraction rays is set up high enough, so the refraction rays are what are responsible for a ray going through an object. So we'll increase this to something like 3. And let's just re-render this. And that actually did not have any kind of an effect. One of the things I actually forgot to do is, in addition to increasing the number of rays, is we need to make sure that we have a maximum trace depth that is set to the sum of these two numbers, so that way we get all 3 interactions. Otherwise this just acts as a global limiting factor. So make sure that we set that up, and let's try that again. There we go, and now we have enough ray interactions to be able to reach all the way through this surface, get the information that's back behind there, and display it back to us. So one of the things we can also do is actually apply this transmat shader to things like the shadow shading port. So if we wanted this object's shadows to be transparent as well, we could do that. All we would have to do is go back to our shading group, take this transmat, and connect it into the actual shadow shader as well. So now, again, here's what we have before with our shadows. And you can see now that in addition to having the object itself be transparent, we now have no actual shadows itself. Now the shadows are being treated as though they are completely transparent as well. So really you would probably not want to use this material as something to just simply make an object transparent that's in the middle of your scene. Ideally, if you were going to be using something like the transmat shader, it would be for things like volume containers or containers for participating media, things like that, where you do want the surface itself to be evaluated somehow at render time, but you just don't want the actual rays to interact with the object as far as the ray tracing rays go. So that's a look at how we can start to utilize and implement this transmat material for things like transparent objects as well as transparent shadows.